welcome back. It's now time for us to start the conversation for the day, and it has to do with what affects all of us, PMS and all the spectrum of fuel that you go to the fuel station or filling station, whichever you prefer, to buy. And the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, they are raising a very major concern, and we want to talk about that concern, which is the fact that they are not comfortable with how the competitors, they call it the regulator, the NNPCL, is running things. They call it, they're creating a hostile environment for them. And this may lead to something the nation wants to avoid, which is why we're being joined in the program by the National Secretary of IPMAN, Mr. John Kekeocha. Mr. Kekeocha, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Let's begin with that immediate concern raised by your association. Even to some Nigerians, it's a bit confusing as to how to differentiate the NNPCL from the rest when they are playing that particular role. So, but you're a player in the industry. You should be able to explain to us and why this is now a major concern. Your concern is basically, from what the presser showed, is that they are the regulators, they are also retailers, meaning they are competitors, and because of that, is affecting maybe some level of transparency. Maybe you can explain what that means.
Hitherto, independent petroleum marketers are registered under the PPMC, and we had our regulatory conditions, we have the business engagement conditions, and later on, the PPMC now handed it over to NNPC Limited. We assume that those conditions we had before had to be carried along. But what you see now is a situation where marketers who pay in for products for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they will not get supplied. We get supplied mainly on PMS. Nobody talks about diesel and kerosene because we never get allocations to pay in or to load them. It is exclusively for retails. And if we go by our terms of agreement to go into this business, all of them have been violated. A situation where retail is the only company that brings in product into this country. They give to whomever they want to give. They first of all satisfy their outlets before they can consider some few marketers to give them product. It's not healthy. You cannot be the judiciary, the executive, and the legislator at the same time. We don't have anywhere to cry to. Many marketers are going out of business because they don't have products. Many marketers are going out of business because of very stiff regulatory conditions that retail has brought in through NMDPROA. An average marketer cannot afford to be in business this time because of the very stiff conditions that have been put into the system. Recently, we heard that by 10th of March, certain conditions have to be met by marketers. How can a marketer meet those conditions that amount to 4 or 5 million when you don't have product year in and year out? It's very embarrassing. The retail want to phase out IPMAN from the business so that they can take over, and that is not right. It is going to cause a lot of disaffection in the country, and it's going to create a lot of scarcity. Marketers, independent marketers, are meant to operate in the hinterlands. But most of these retail outlets are not in the hinterlands. If you go to the hinterland now, you find out that many marketers' stations are moribund. Many marketers' stations are closed down. It's not because they will to close them down. It's because they cannot get supplies. The conditions for this business are stiffened to ease out IPMAN, and it is not proper. It is not proper. IPMAN has made several contacts with the government, complained about these very stringent conditions, and nobody is hearing them out. And we are sure in a very short period, many marketers will go out of business, and it will create a very lot of scarcity in this country. So IPMAN is, in our next meeting yesterday, cried out that government should come to our aid, interface with retail and IPMAN. Let us see a way out of this quagmire, because it's not comfortable, it's not interesting, and it does not give room for a good, healthy economic condition of this country. So IPMAN is asking government to step in, because we are no more comfortable with the business relationship we have with retail unlike the one we had the PPMC, where business was done, negotiations are normally done before some conditions of business are brought in. But right now, you stay at your home, you wake up in the morning, some stringent conditions that cannot be met are pushed on your neck, and you don't have anywhere to cry to. So IPMAN is asking the government to please intervene to ensure that there's a level playing ground for IPMAN to operate. Otherwise, IPMAN is thinking of what to do next, and it's not very comfortable for this economy and the country.
I mean, I fear to think of what that will be, but let's break this down even further. The government will say, over the past few years, with this new arrangement, we've seen lesser fuel queues, as we used to see in the past, the ones that will last for days, weeks sometimes, will naturally throw the whole country into a precarious situation. So for proponents that say that, well, this system is working, they say, well, we have results to show for it, so we can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. So they back this current system and say, well, allow it to be this way as far as the people get petrol supply and we don't have the fuel queues we used to have. So for those who are saying it is working, how about you leave it that way? Perhaps this has fixed a major challenge we used to have in the past when we see days and weeks of queues. What do you tell them?
You cannot have people who have gone into engagement with you and drawn a business agreement, and you want to phase them out because you feel that only you can do that business. What are you going to do with the people? What are you going to tell the people? You simply come out and tell us to close our stations, you can operate on your own. You simply come and tell us that without us, the company can move on. But it's not proper, it's not good like that. You don't have queues, yes, government is bringing in products, but how many independent marketers are in the business? Retail has bought over many stations. Retail has crippled many marketers' outlets because they feel they can fill the gap. But that's not a good spirit of a business.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
People spend all our grievance. It is not proper. If they feel they can do this business, then they have to give marketers conditions or have to survive. So what we are saying is that if retail should interface with marketers and ensure that the level playing ground, even though we accept they bring in the products, they give the regulations, and they give products to the marketer, they should ensure that marketers, wherever they are, get enough products to operate equally. That you don't have scarcity everywhere in the country. It's not because that retail is doing their best. It's because of the bad nature of the economy. How many people in this country go into a filling station and fill their tanks? How many stations in this country have fuel? So we are saying that the government should come in, interface with the retail and independent marketer, so that the marketers can be in business. Marketers can put food on their table. There's nothing you can tell a man that built a station with millions of naira that because you can do it alone, then discuss him out so that you will think of another business. You cannot keep him in business. You are not giving him products. You stifle him with numerous stringent conditions. It's not proper. That's what we are saying.
Well, Mr. Kikiocha, I can feel, your pain even as you speak with much passion about, the concerns of independent marketers. And as a result, I imagine what those stringent conditions that you talk about are. But while you are articulating those stringent conditions that your association is complaining about, I'd like you to also speak to the concern, the view out there that government has actually reintroduced subsidy, however minimally, even though it has not come out to commit to having reintroduced subsidy, vis-a-vis the continuing challenges. If government has reintroduced subsidy, IPMAN, your association, is still complaining about these challenges and the stringent conditions. NATO, on the other hand, also shelved what would have been a strike that would have led to petrol scarcity just last week. So if government has intervened, covertly, why are we having these challenges? Who are those that have profited from the reintroduction of subsidy, if indeed government covertly reintroduced subsidy?
You see, before this introduction of subsidy, this man was on air, this man was shouting, this man was saying, please, 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 there are certain conditions you have to meet. There are certain conditions you have to put on the table before the subsidy, can flow. Of course, the government didn't listen. They went to help loan and they introduced subsidy. You cannot tell the people that subsidy you removed when dollar was 700 naira per dollar, that it is the same condition you are still operating now that the dollar is about 1,500. Government should come openly and tell the people that they have been introduced subsidy. The amount of money government pays in for subsidy now is higher than what they used to pay before. You cannot operate in a system that is not transparent and you feel everything will be okay. Everything can be okay. We have moribund refineries that can be put in place. We have over time heard that the Port Harcourt refinery is going to start, Port Harcourt refinery is going to start. What is holding it from starting? Nothing. Nothing is done there. The actions there are not enough to start producing products. Warri is almost dead. Nothing is happening in Warri refinery. If Warri refinery and Port Harcourt refineries are put in place and you introduce subsidy, it can flow without you going back to pay huge sum amount, much more than what the previous government was paying. It's not proper. All right. There are certain things that must be done before this time comes. Now you have introduced subsidy. The product is still selling at 650 to 700 in some areas. And I want to tell you that they have given licenses to many people to import products. How can you import product at a rate where a product naira is 1,500 and the government is bringing product at 650 naira? It is misleading the people, telling the people what is not proper, telling the people lies.
All right, all right. Apologies, we're totally out of time. Mr. John Kekiocha, as Bukola said, we see your concern, and that's why we brought you to the program, so that what we read on the top stories can be further amplified by you, who is a member of the executive of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. But thank you for coming to the program. This is an ongoing conversation. We're going to check back on you and how this developed eventually. Mr. John Kekiocha is the National Secretary of IPMAN. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Guys, there's a lot he has said that we need to further probe. Yeah. But he's talked about the fact that government is not saying the truth, essentially, that subsidy has been reintroduced. There has been that suspicion, but governments across level, fiscal and monetary authorities, they've not come out to say anything in that direction. So these are the people in the know, and we're going to continue to find answers to this question. Maybe we'll get these officials of government to come and tell us what exactly is going on, because there's a lot in that sector that needs explanation.
Jeffrey, speaking of which, we have a Minister of Petroleum. You know, there was a lot of debate about why the president would retain that position, following the reconstitution of a cabinet under the new administration. So we have a Minister of Petroleum in the president. So perhaps we need to be asking the president these questions also.
Yeah, when we have the time, we should ask him.
Absolutely. But we're in a very tricky situation as a nation. We're still trying to get the energy security, which we talk about. We're still not refining crude at home. So a lot of our issues at home are imported. Whatever happens there, if some of these countries sneeze, if we have issues with the delivery chains, we'll have issues here. We've seen what's happening with the FX. So I know that there needs to be creative ways to approach this, but then how creative are we being without being authoritarian, without being anti-business, anti-investment? Those are the questions.
Exactly. Well. Exactly, I agree with you. And that's going to form the major part of our next conversation. Interest rate, FX, and all of those gamuts of how we can help fix the economy. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll have that conversation with the expert. Join us again.